Welcome to the Honest Dog Breeder Podcast with me, your host, Julie Swan, where each week we dive in to discuss all things dog breeding so you can build a breeding business you love, producing dogs that fulfill their owners' dreams. I believe you can have an honest dog breeding program that also pays the bills. So throw those pods in your ears while you're cleaning kennels. I'd love to join you. Hi, Michelle. Thank you so much for being here and letting me come out to your beautiful home. Oh my gosh, I'm so jealous of your facility.
Thank you.
So tell us, you breed Bassets.
Yep.
So how did you get started?
So we started it was I wanted to get a Basset for my husband for his birthday.
Oh, always starts with the husband.
Yes, it was the husband. So before we were breeding Bassets, we were breeding Walkers.
Okay.
My husband has been doing that since before we got married, so 15 plus years.
Wow.
And then we were watching Smokey and the Bandit, and there's a Basset Hound. I wanted one for years. I said, babe, I'm just going to bring one home one of these days. And he said, as long as you name it Fred, that's fine.
And then Fred.
I said, done.
And I got to meet Fred.
You got to meet Fred.
He is amazing.
He is.
I
He's
love
a
him.
doll. So, so yeah, that's really what got it all started off.
So you kind of always like the breed.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep.
Absolutely. So neat. So then breeding, right?
Yep.
So you decided at some point in time and turned from pet to breeding. How did
Right.
that happen?
So when I started looking for that puppy, we couldn't find one. I couldn't find one anywhere. There wasn't anybody really in Arizona who was breeding. There was one gal who lived up north of us about 6 hours.
It's pretty far though.
It's a long drive. And I thought to myself, being totally uneducated, we've been raising our own dogs for years.
Sure.
I thought, well, I'll set aside like, $400, and get myself, doesn't need to be registered, just a Basset Hound. And the gal who lived up north of us, hers were not registered, but they were selling for $800, and I was kind of floored. So,
Yeah.
So anyway, then I started looking into what the registered dogs were selling for, and they were starting at the time at about 1,400 and would go up from there. So, anyway, it really just kind of planted a seed in my brain, and I thought, man, we've been breeding. I know how to do this. I know what it takes, and there's an opportunity here.
Right.
And so I contacted a friend who has been breeding Wheatons for 20 plus years and said, okay, talk me out of this. Am I crazy? Like, I really don't need to do this. And she says, no, it's perfect for you. Like, you need to do this. And so I went out, learned a lot from them, and just did my homework, and here we are.
Right. And I mean, you were telling me earlier, you think, having that experience with animals and raising other animals, like that lends itself pretty well
It does.
to breeding. And I found that to be the same.
Yep.
Yeah.
I've been in horses almost my whole life. My family here, my husband's family, has been in cattle for over 100 years.
Okay, there you go.
We know animals.
You've been birthing animals. For a while.
Yep, we know animals.
Good. But you also mentioned there were some times where people are like, oh, I want to breed. And you're like, oh, this is not really for you. What goes through your mind when you say, oh, yes, this would be a good fit for you and this wouldn't?
Flies.
Cattle
ranch.
Cattle ranch, right? Yeah. It's that time of year here anyway.
It is. Yes. So for me, anytime somebody does have animal husbandry experience, that's like a big check in the right direction.
Sure.
For the person who says, oh, I have a sweet dog at home and I just think it would be fun to do this with the kids.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, oh, okay, let's stop a minute and really talk about this.
Sure.
And I'll talk to anybody, if they call me up, hey, I want to breed. Okay, well, let's have that conversation.
Sure.
For people who I had friends that I've helped get started, and they've had extensive dog experience, also in ranching. They raised cattle, horses, goats, pigs, like way more stuff than we have at our house. So,
It's an easy transition.
It's an easy transition.
Yeah.
Exactly. So if you have that animal husbandry experience to start with, then you kind of understand what's going to go into it. The person who lives in an apartment in Phoenix, and they think it would just be fun like, okay, you don't understand the amount of time and work and mess.
It's a mess.
I
know.
Mess
I
that goes
know.
into it.
I always think there are like way easier ways to make money. And like, I just feel like you have to have this idea in your head that's beyond just an experience. You can go get an experience with someone who breeds, but
Right.
to like live it and work it as a program, it's just so much more.
It is.
And I think that was something, this whole idea of the way you designed your program. Oh, it was awesome. So tell us a little bit about how you got started. Cause I know your friend, she gave you the green light. Like, I think you'll like this, try it.
Yeah.
And so you're like, okay, good. So now this seed is growing.
Right.
So where did you take it from there? How did you build your program? Cause you
Yeah.
started such an amazing business.
So the first thing that I did was I sat down on my computer. I got on the AKC website and I went on Marketplace just to see if there were any breeders listed on there in the state of Arizona.
Sure.
And there weren't. I'm
Okay.
like, oh,
So
hey,
you're checking out your
that's good.
competition.
Checking out my competition. And so I'm like, okay, well, that's promising. So then I just kind of started spreading out. You know, you can set your mile range for
Right.
how far you're willing to drive to go get this puppy or whatever. And so anyway, there's just very few breeders. There's a few in California. There's one in Texas. You know, it doesn't list everybody that's out there, but it gives you a good idea.
Yeah,
and so there were literally 0 people in Arizona. And so I'm like, okay. So I feel like that's good. And I felt like there was going to be a good demand for it too. The Pioneer Woman, everybody knows who she is. You can't walk into Walmart without like the Basset Hound cookie jars everywhere.
My mom has all her
dishes. Yep. And so they're kind of having like a heyday right now, and a lot in thanks to her. And so anyway, I felt like, okay, I feel like the demand is going to be there. Like we can do this. And so then I started getting on to Facebook, which I literally did not have a Facebook
You had to
profile.
make a Facebook profile to investigate.
Yes.
I love it.
Did not. I've never been on Facebook, like 0 social media. Like I don't need it. But now I do. Darn it.
I know. It's painful. Have it for business. That's about it.
The only
all my
reason
friends are
I have it.
disappointed. There are no updates.
Yep. I'm the same way. So I got on to different Basset Hound like pet groups, as well as Basset Hound breeder groups, buyer groups. Not allowed to have those, but you know, they're out there.
They're on the black side.
Exactly.
Side, right?
So I started getting on and figuring out kind of what people were looking for. And
when you say what I mean, what are you talking about? When you say what they're looking for.
So what they're looking for in a breeder, I should say specifically. So what are the things that are important to them to make them feel good about the purchase that they're about to make? Because with the push, adopt, don't shop.
Oh gosh, right.
Right. Seriously. Thanks a lot. But with that push, people don't want to say out loud that they're going to go buy from a breeder, or you know, it's frustrating. So you have to find a way for people to feel good about that purchase they're about to make.
Right.
And so then also, like, what kind of a facility do I need to set up so that they feel good about it?
And I love this. Yeah.
So what do I need to build for my people to feel good to buy from me?
Right.
And so anyway, we literally started off with 2 pins out back and started there, and then we moved into our little bigger barn. But even when we just had the pins out back, you know, we would bring the dogs up to the house every day. They'd run around in the yard with us. They had pictures with the kids that would go on to my Facebook page. Those are the ones that people would see. To create that family environment that they can feel good about.
Which is so much what your breed is about anyway.
It is. They are absolutely a family dog, and that's what people want. So anyway, the things that I found that people are really looking for are, well, they want to feel good about who they're buying from. Right. They want to feel like it's a responsible choice, like they're doing a good thing by buying from you.
We're not contributing to the problem.
Exactly. So, you know, there's of course, all like your basics you got to cover. You got to do your testing and all that kind of stuff to make sure you have healthy dogs.
Mhm.
So that's out there for people.
Yeah.
But the thing that I think really has set us apart is that they want that homey environment. And
Mhm.
so we've tried really hard to make sure we give that homey environment while still maintaining our sanity.
Yeah. No, exactly. All right. So speaking of sanity, we
Yep.
know it's chaos to have dogs in the house,
Yes.
you know, and what was it your husband told you? Are
Yeah.
you kidding?
Yep. My husband told me when we first got married, no animals in the house at all. None.
Right.
And
It's-
I was like, that's fine. I'm cool with that.
Mhm.
We have animals everywhere else. We've got to have an animal free zone. So nowadays he likes to let Fred in and let him
Fred's
sit
not a
on the
dog.
couch. And he informs me Fred is not an animal.
Fred
So
thinks he's one of your kids.
he
Yeah.
is, yeah. So he's a mess. But so anyway, I kind of like to think of it, like a mom, she needs mom time away from the kids.
Oh yeah,
It's
absolutely.
the same thing with the dogs.
No, I agree with you.
I live with these dogs from morning till night.
Mhm.
When I come to make dinner, I don't want dog hair in the salad,
There
I
is
just
that.
don't.
Right?
It's still all over my clothes and sometimes gets in the salad,
I
but it happens.
Yeah.
So anyway, I made a list of what all of I feel like the buyer's important things were.
Mhm.
And then
Important things to check off when finding a breeder, right?
exactly.
Got it.
And
Perfect.
then from there, I made a list of what all the things that were important to me were.
Mhm.
So I needed space without the dogs. So no,
Sure.
they were not in the house. And I needed it to be simple and easy to clean up. And I needed, I don't know, just all the basics that makes things function.
Mhm.
So I made my list of what was important to my buyers
Mhm.
and then my list of what was important to me.
Yes.
So yeah, no animals in the house so we could have
Mhm.
some space. I needed it to be easy to clean up.
Oh yeah. And being a mom, that is like so paramount.
That's everything.
It is.
I really
It's the
regret not
difference
having a
between
trough
sanity or
drain
not.
in my house. It's
Fair
just
enough.
like,
Oh my gosh.
why did we not do that? Seriously.
Right.
So and then I wanted to have it to where, if we're going to do this, we may as well do it all the way. My husband, I remember him telling somebody also early in our
Mhm.
marriage, he was talking to them about the cattle business.
Yeah.
He said, it's no harder to raise the best quality animal
Mhm.
than it is to raise a low quality animal. It's no more work.
You still gotta feed them every day. You still gotta clean up after them.
It's all the same stuff. So it's no harder to go in at the very top than it is at the bottom.
So,
That's been kind of on my end what I hold myself to is if we're going to do this, we may as well do this at the very top level that we can do it
I
at.
love it.
And so that's what I wanted from my end. And then what my buyers were looking for is a responsible breeder. So they want the testing, they want somebody who's taking care of those animals, and they want them in a home environment. And
Mhm.
so we had to figure out how to create a home environment while not having 9 dogs in the
In
house
your
with us.
house. Hey.
And
I'm all up
that's
for that.
what we've done. So
Yeah, absolutely. So tell us, because you guys should see this facility. Woo. She has marble walls. Can we just be honest about that? Can you tell us a little bit how you have marble in your kennel?
Yes, it's
It's
ridiculous.
nicer than my bathroom. Yeah.
Well, I joked with my husband this last July when
Mhm.
I was sleeping out there every night with our 4 litters
Right.
of puppies. I'm like, the reason we had to make it so nice is because it's my second home. So
Right.
it's just my level that I have to have, right?
Mhm.
Not really. But so we have a marble quarry that's on our ranch. It's
cool.
one of the only marble quarries actually in the United States.
Wow.
So it's a historic quarry that they had open, I think it was in like early 1900s, like 13, I believe.
Oh wow.
And then it got shut down because they took all the metal for World War I and
Wonderful.
II. So
Okay.
that was the end of the marble quarry. So my husband and his family, they're like crazy ambitious, decided to
Mhm.
reopen it. And so they did.
Fantastic.
So we quarry marble and we sent some off to get cut and it got cut improperly. So when I asked my husband, okay, we need to waterproof the walls in here so I can pressure wash this barn and clean it.
Mhm.
And so what do I put up there that would be cost effective, And he's like, how about marble? And I just laughed at him. I was like, oh, you're really funny. Seriously, what can I put on the walls? He's like, no, I mean it. I have some tile. We can't sell it, so you can have it. I'm like,
You
really?
Good problems to have.
I know, it's pretty tough. So we literally do have, I think it goes up 5 feet.
Yeah, it's
on the walls.
fantastic.
It's a 5 foot from floor up 5 feet on the walls.
Oh, and
so
it looks
we can
amazing.
just hose it down.
Yeah, you guys will have to check the pictures, but I mean, it is like, it's so pretty and it looks so nice.
Really,
the dogs pop against it.
They do. It's fantastic for taking pictures. It like our puppy pictures every week went on a whole new level when we got the marble walls in.
It's so cool. Well, speaking of taking the pictures, you have this little outdoor section that you set up.
Yep.
Which is perfect. And you have it covered in shade, which tell us how that whole thing came to be.
Yeah. So I love, one thing that's really important to me is I like to stress to people that these are dogs. And I would like to get them outside. I want people to not just think of them as sitting on a little cushion all the time, like they are dogs. They want to be dogs. They want to get outside.
Yeah.
They want to get dirty. So I like to get them outside for some of our photo shoots that we do during the 9 weeks that we have them.
Yeah.
But I wanted to do it where they weren't just running willy-nilly and getting dirty because they're trying to look nice.
And it's just for safety's sake.
Yep, exactly. It makes it really easy. So, and then also the lighting is always hard when you're outside. There's shadows falling in the wrong places and it's tricky. So we have 10-foot overhangs on each side of the barn so that there's shade. And so one little chunk of that, I think it's 10 by 20 feet, I believe is what it is. We enclosed it with the regular dog kennels and then put down a strip of artificial grass in the center. And then around the outside, we have puppy safe plants that go all the way around. So there's like honeysuckle vines and rosemary and jasmine. And I love aromatic stuff. So anything that smells good is fun. Plus you can use all the help you can get in a dog pen.
Exactly. Right.
So, so anyway, it's fully shaded. So you can go out midday and take pictures and the light is just spot on. It's pretty. The dogs look good against the grass and the flowers and it makes for some really, really pretty photo shoots. And then they can't run off. They're
you
just
don't have to worry about it. Oh, I just
don't have to worry about them getting away and you catch some really cute moments. Really easy in there.
Right. That's perfect. Well, tell us too, because you have this welcome area. So when you walk into your facility, it's like, it's almost like a little office. Like I could be waiting on like a really nice lawyer.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, it's nice, but it has more home feel. Not so cold. Yeah. But tell us how you design. I mean, because it's beautiful. Sure.
So before we moved in, we've been in our new facility for a year. And before that we were it was a really nice barn. But it was small, real small area. I could fit maximum 6 dogs in there and we just outgrew it. And so when people would come, I had my little table and a couple little chairs and we'd all squish in and we'd sign papers. And the dogs would be barking and it was just loud and obnoxious. And so when we built this, I said, I have to have an office space. So that I use it to work out there when I need to get away from the kids and get some work done.
Oh, that's fair.
But it's also, like you said, like a welcome area where people can come in. So we've got the table, the chairs, pictures of dogs all over the walls.
Oh, yes, that's so cute.
We got a pegboard with collars. People can come and pick out a collar when they pick up their puppy.
That's perfect.
And so it's just a really nice, comfortable
and
space.
quiet.
It is. It's relatively quiet in there.
It's very nice. It just felt very homey when I walked in. I was like, oh, this is just so refreshing. It almost made me feel like I was walking into one of like the nicer buildings, like in like almost Bisbee or Tombstone. Like it had that like kind of like, this is a little bit older school in like I want a dog to bring me back in the day to the good days. And like
it was working because that was totally, I wanted it to feel like it had some history to it. So with like the wainscoting on the wall, and the dark green colors, and I pulled the colors out of our logo, but it's a very like vintage old feeling, and Bassets are an old breed,
and they kind of have that old man look to them.
They do, absolutely. So that's the feel I was going for. So that makes me happy.
Nailed it. You nailed it. Oh, and then, okay, so tell us about this
this drainage trough down the
Yeah.
center, because I walked in and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm immediately jealous
Yeah.
because this is, oh, it's perfect. Okay. So kind of explain what it is for those who aren't familiar.
Yep.
Well, first off, how big is your building?
My
The
building,
interior.
yeah, the interior is 30 by 60.
30 by 60.
So
and probably
it's
what would you say?
definitely overkill for size from what we needed.
Sure.
But my husband is such a go bigger, go home kind of a guy. And so I was planning like a little simpler, but
Sure.
he's like, no, if we're gonna build this, it's not gonna cost that much more to go
Mhm.
bigger in case we ever want to use it for something else.
That
So
makes
it
sense.
was like, if you ever decide you're gonna retire, I don't want to have just a random building that we can't use for anything else. So
Yeah.
that's why we went ultimately. The 60 was the length that I wanted,
Mhm.
but the 30 was the extra width. It cost
Sure.
very
Were you
little.
originally at about 20 or so?
Yeah, we were at 20, I
Mhm.
think. And then
Makes
I was
sense.
like, well, maybe 25 would be a little better. And
Mhm.
then it got bumped out to 30 and it's perfect.
It's so nice.
I'm
It
so
feels
thankful we did that.
very spacious when you walk
It
in,
is.
and it's so nice. You have spray insulation
Mhm.
and like you actually have like ventilation system, like
Yep.
would you consider HVAC, I guess?
Yeah, it's a swamp
Swamp
cooler.
cooler, which is so good for the dogs out here.
And
Mhm.
so there's the big old ducting that goes down the
Mhm.
middle. There's vents out all the sides that go over
Yeah.
the kennels on each side. So it's heated, cooled,
And marble.
And marble.
And marble,
That's
yeah.
the most
So-
important part.
Okay, so we have this giant drainage down the
Yes.
center. So when you go and pressure wash, how is that process? Is it pretty fast? I
Yeah,
think-
it goes pretty quick. I wish we would have sloped it just a hair more than we did.
Sure.
I
Do
don't
you know-
remember what the percentage was. I could probably find out.
It looks
but
kind of like 2 or 3%.
I want to say it was about 3%.
Yeah.
I wish we would have gone 4.
Okay.
But it drains. It
Mhm.
absolutely drains. I just wish it would drain just a
little
tiny bit
faster.
faster, but it's not to the point that it's annoying. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
it's wonderful. So the entire room, like the entire kennel portion of the room, which I think is 45 feet long,
Sure.
I believe, and then about 30 feet wide.
Mhm.
Um,
It's like 1,400 square feet.
yeah,
It's
Yep.
pretty good size.
So that entire room is sloped
Mhm.
into the center drain. And I think, what would it be? The center drain is probably like 30 feet long, I would say.
Yeah.
So it's just a big I mean, it's not big, it's like a foot wide.
Yeah, but
And
you've
then about
got
30
the
feet
grates
long.
on top of it. So it is a drainage trough and you can walk
Mhm.
right on top of
Yep.
it. There was no trip hazard whatsoever. It was very
Nope,
nice.
not at all. And
Mhm.
so, and then it slopes inside of that and just into a big old hole in the floor.
Mhm.
Out it goes.
And out you go, right?
And it's so
Yeah.
easy.
Do you have that just out to gray water, like an leach field?
Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's perfect.
Yeah, we've got the wash that
Mm-hmm.
the drainage out there and it just runs in there and we're not using all kinds of chemical and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
it just runs out, and
It's perfect.
waters the grass.
Yeah, it's perfect. I actually found where my dog poop pile is. There's a lot of weeds growing there, so maybe
Mhm.
it's not too bad.
Maybe not.
It's not too bad. Well,
Um,
that's great. And then you have pictures.
Yep. lots of
And this
pictures.
is what like caught my attention so much the first time we talked, but you guys should see these gorgeous canvas prints. And I mean, the photography is your photography. This is your
you. Yep.
skills, right? I mean,
Yep.
it's amazing. Did you get any training on photography?
No, it really just stemmed from like hours and hours and hours of looking at bad pictures.
Oh,
Breeders are terrible. Just really bad.
there's so many skills as a breeder you need to have.
It's just, there's so many bad websites out there. There's so many bad pictures. And I just found that, I guess, it's going back to my horse days. When I
Mm.
was in the horse industry a little bit,
Mhm.
I interned under some amazing trainers. And one day, one of them sent me out to take pictures. And he says, we got to sell this horse. He says, make sure you get your angles right. I was like, oh, hold on. Okay. Fill me in here.
Yeah.
And you've got to go from the hind quarter so that you're slightly angled because
Mhm.
you want the focus to be more on the hind quarter of the horse. If you
Sure.
take it to where the head is angled a little forwards, their head looks huge and they look terrible.
That makes sense.
So you angle them just slightly, you get the hip big and pretty like you want,
Mhm.
and then the head looks nice and it gives you a much better picture of the horse. And then
That's
there's
perfect.
also the lines behind. You have to look at what's
Sure.
behind you and all that. And so I really applied that
Mhm.
5-minute lesson I had.
Great, though.
I applied that to the dogs, and I just found that it's all makes such a big difference. Just what
Yeah.
your puppy is on, what's behind your puppy,
Yeah.
what angle your puppy's at, and just lots and lots of hours of just snapping pictures and saying, okay, that works, that doesn't work.
I feel like I take 400 pictures to get one good one. It's
I
amazing.
usually do. I have to clean out my phone because it'll fill the entire thing up. I think I threw away, after I got done editing yesterday, I threw away like 2,500 pictures.
Oh my gosh, I believe it.
So
Totally
yeah,
believe it.
yep. I
Yeah.
take thousands and thousands of pictures every week and throw away thousands
Oh,
and thousands of
great.
pictures every week.
But then you get these gorgeous ones. And so
You
you
do.
went and you ordered gorgeous canvas prints.
Yep.
And then with these fantastic pictures.
Mhm.
And then tell us how you decided. So you put them all up in your kennels. I mean,
Yeah.
it looks like you're going to
So-
someone's really nice house.
Yeah, well, that's the idea. But honestly, the way that happened is, of course, I wanted to feel homey. I wanted to feel
Yeah.
welcoming. It echoes really bad in there. And I was like, I've got to get something on the walls to hold the
Interesting.
noise
Because it didn't
down.
echo at all when we were
Yeah,
talking.
it's not
in
bad
there.
anymore. So
Mhm.
that's helped a lot.
And it's because it's the canvas prints.
Yeah, it's just having some texture on the walls. It
Mhm.
makes it to where the sound can't just ping off
Yeah,
of everything. And so the more like layers and textures you can get in,
Breaks
it
it all up.
really it helps break it up. So
neat.
so yeah, they do double duty there, but it definitely, when you walk in, each dog, all the pictures that are in the kennel room hang above that dog. Like that dog's picture hangs above their kennel.
They have like their own room.
They
right?
do.
It's
They
not
have
just a
their own
kennel. It's like their room.
Yeah, their own room.
Mhm.
Yes.
It's
So
perfect.
so they've got their cot in there and their
Mhm.
water and their food.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I love how you have the whole thing set up. You've got individual, it's like all your water systems are on floats and they're
Mhm.
piped in,
Yep.
hard lined. It's so nice.
Yep.
And then you have valves so you can turn them off.
Yep.
That was so great. You also have, what did you call them? They're the floor mats, but they're drain
Yeah, it's called dry deck.
dry
flooring.
deck.
Yep.
Okay.
And it's just, it comes in 1 foot square
Mhm.
little pieces, so you can pop them apart, put them together.
Mhm.
It's really nice. We deep clean in there
Mhm.
probably once or twice a week with the puppies. But
You're
in
talking like pull
between,
everything out with a
pull
full pressure
everything out.
rush.
Yeah, exactly.
Mhm.
Everything comes out. We use wishy wash in there and sanitize everything. Probably realistically, the entire thing probably gets done once a week. We kind of break it up into
Sure.
chunks.
Yeah. And I'm the
But,
same way. My deep cleans once a week.
and then, but in between cleanings, you can just pull the mats off the top and spray through the dry deck. It has little feet it stands on. The water
Mhm.
drains out from underneath. And then it also, all of our puppies, we've got doggy doors in each puppy pen, and then
Yes.
we have the litter boxes that we use
Mhm.
in each pen, and that's been a game changer
Oh my
for
gosh,
us.
isn't it? Litter
It's
box training. I
just-
waited 30 litters to litter box train.
Oh,
Is that not
man.
the most embarrassing thing
Yeah,
in the world?
that's
It's sad.
unfortunate.
It's sad.
I'm sorry.
It's so embarrassing.
That was like the best thing we ever did was
Yep.
litter boxes. But until they really get to where they're going into the litter box and making it
Mhm.
all the way over there. We try and make it so it's not too far a walk,
Right.
but they don't always make it 6
No, they
inches.
don't.
So they have their sleeping area, and then that's on top of the dry deck. They almost always will walk off the sleeping area, and if they pee on the dry deck, it just runs right underneath,
Which is
and
so
then the
nice.
puppies have a clean surface.
Yeah.
And then when we change the mats on top, the fleece mats that they
Mhm.
sleep on, then I can still just hose out what's underneath, and it just flushes right out
That
and
makes
goes down
sense.
into the drain, and the puppies are clean, and any mess
Yeah.
just stays underneath.
And so you're putting those fleece mats, and are they blankets or mats?
Well, they're more like, I don't know what they're whelping pads. It's like a
Okay.
fleece whelping pad. So it's
So
got
it's
the
thicker than a blanket.
It is. It's
Mhm.
thicker than a blanket. It's got a waterproof little lining underneath.
Oh,
They're
okay.
fantastic. I love
That's so
them.
nice. And
They're
you just
kind
wash
of
'em?
grippy. Yep, throw them
That's
in the
great.
washer.
So-
They're thin enough to where you can just throw them in the washing machine, but they're thick enough that they're soft and comfy.
And weighted, so they
Yep,
don't,
they're nice.
they're
and
not
heavy.
toting them everywhere.
Nope, they're
That's so
really
nice.
really wonderful. They're
Yeah.
good mats.
I feel like my dogs would just be like, game on, shred this thing, you know?
Yeah, I believe it.
Yeah.
Bassets are fairly easy to get along
Yeah.
with. So
Speaking of breed
mhm.
and selecting your breed, I know you have your story and how you got to Fred, but you also, had a friend who was interested in getting into breeding and you helped her select a breed and you had some really good pointers on how you help sort and help her narrow down what she
Sure.
should be looking at. Can you explain that to me?
Yeah. So for her, I told her, she was asking me about it. And I said, all right, so you need to pick a breed that, number one, you love. I mean, of
Mhm.
course, that's the most important because you're going to be living with this dog
Right.
constantly. So you have to love the breed.
Yeah.
But if it comes down to more than one breed or you're just unsure,
Mm-hmm.
get on the AKC list of most popular breeds
Yeah.
and take out the top completely, like the
Meaning
top,
like the top 10. Just
something like that. Yeah,
take
but
that
for
out.
sure the top 5 and
Sure.
completely eliminate those because
Yeah.
that market is typically really saturated.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of breeders out there
Mhm.
for those dogs. And it's hard to move your dogs and it's hard to make a good profit off your dogs. I told her just to do that research and then, like I did, look around, figure out what your competition in the area is. Like, is there another breeder right down the road doing the same
Right.
thing? Like that could be tough. And so figure out who your competition is and pick a breed that don't go to the very bottom of the list,
Yeah, because nobody's
but
ever heard of those. I have that problem
exactly.
with rat terriers.
Yeah. So,
Mhm.
so pick something that people want, but not the very top, because that market is going to be really saturated.
It's hard
You're
to
going to
break
have a
into.
harder time.
Yeah. And I think if you do love those breeds, like the short hairs are number 9.
Mm-hmm.
They toggle, they were 8 for a minute,
Yeah.
but now they're not as cool. But they're, and there's a ton, there's at least a dozen breeders in just Arizona,
Mhm.
and I find out about more of them all the time.
Yep.
So it's just
Yep.
continually growing. And I think, if you love them, you love them.
You do. Yes.
But
Absolutely.
you really would need to niche down in that market to a specific
Exactly.
thing that dog does.
Yep.
They can't be everything to everyone.
Right.
You're going to be too hard to market.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's where, I think if you are in that area, that's where you can really work on your environment and what you have to offer as a kennel and a breeder.
Because you're looking at the service,
Right.
and their impression of you
Exactly.
is going to be way more important if you have more competition.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's one place we've really done really well.
I would
just
amazing.
like the visual of what we offer.
It felt so homey, and yet it's a concrete floor. And so to be able to strike that balance, I just loved it. Love it. You guys should see too. She's got like flower pots and like there's like a plant inside, it's such a nice setup. And it looks like it's very easy and organized.
It is.
And I think actually with your husband convincing you to go a little wider, just feels roomy. It doesn't feel congested at all.
It does. I'm so glad that he did that because it wouldn't have been as nice. I mean, it would have been great. It would have worked, but it would have been more utilitarian.
Yes.
As opposed to just having a nice comfy feel.
Yeah. And I think sometimes we are splitting hairs with finances. We're trying to be as conservative as possible. Right. We don't want to overspend that money, but a lot of times that difference is literally like a litter or less worth of money. And it's like, okay, I think I can wait on the profit margin and spend the money on the facility.
Let's be real, people. Yeah. Like if you've got good dogs, go buy the best dog humanly possible. Go do it.
It's your starting stuff.
It's going to pay back in one litter. Put up the facility that you need to put up because it's going to pay back, depending on what numbers you're doing.
And you waited a little longer to get into this particular facility,
which is not where we started.
No. And so when you were talking about the starting, what would be some tips for people just starting out, like to make it comfortable without, dying in finances or having their husband be like, we didn't get groceries this week.
Right. Yeah, we don't want to do that. No. We don't want to be dog poor.
No.
So like I said, to start with, we literally went to Tractor Supply and we set up some pins. But when I did that, I didn't just drop them out there randomly. We gravelled the area so it was very clean. Yeah. We completely leveled it off, gravelled it off. I planted flowers around it. There's a pomegranate tree. We got rock and made rock borders and pathways.
Yeah.
We very carefully and nicely stretched the shade cloth on so it was shaded. Each dog had their own insulated doghouse so that it was, really, really comfortable, and people would look at it and say, okay, they care,
Yeah, absolutely.
And we didn't stay there all that long. Honestly, it was kind of shocking how fast all of this took off.
All your work paid off.
It did.
It really did.
So fast. And so anyway, we had a little barn. I want to say it's 12 by 25.
Okay.
I think. So a nice size. I mean, not tiny.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
But,
It would fit like a big truck if that were a garage. To give
Yeah,
you a ballpark.
yeah. And well, it had to be more than 25. It'd have to be 30.
Okay.
Because we could just barely eke in 6 dogs.
Fair enough. Mhm.
So, we went ahead and that was our old saddle shed, and we changed where that went. We built a new barn for that and moved
Okay.
all of that anyway. So we didn't really need it anymore. So, we cut doggy doors in, we spray foamed it. You've got to do the spray foam.
Right.
It's everything. And then cut in the doggy doors and put in a little window and called it a day. But even in there, I had pictures hanging everywhere. I had real pretty wooden shelves that hung on the walls, and there were flower pots and my binders and then some dog toys, and so everything has always been really staged.
It's staged. So tell me about this.
Yeah, so like when you're selling a house, you want somebody to envision their life in that house.
Yeah.
So you stage it, you set up the furniture for like best scenario what this house can be.
Right.
And so I guess that's kind of the approach I take, I guess, as well. Like I want people to envision these dogs as a part of their family. And so we just try and bring that family feel into the barn or wherever that dog is. And so the walls are all painted white in the little barn. We just had wood on the walls and didn't have marble there.
Of course.
But every single litter that we have, if the walls had gotten scratched up or dirty, we repainted.
Yeah.
And just so that it had that clean look about it.
Sure.
And then we brought in furniture and textures. It all had to be really narrow because we only had a few feet to work with. But a friend of mine made a table. She does some carpentry. She made us a little narrow table, and so that we could sit down and sign papers. I had, towels and towel holders. So when people come in, it feels nice and it doesn't feel industrial. That was what I wanted to stay away from. I don't want it to feel commercial.
You don't want to feel like a police kennel with like German shepherds just
exactly. And so, we got the nice black kennel, stayed away from the chain link for that reason.
Yeah.
Because it feels cleaner. I liked the black and white. And so we just kind of ran with that.
Nice
and just
classic.
really classic, really clean. And it just makes it feel homey. And that's what I always come back to, is I want it when people to walk in, even though they are walking into a kennel, I want them to feel at home.
Yes,
and like those
perfect.
dogs were raised in a home environment.
And you had talked about staging things, and I know you explained that, but you also said at some point you were kind of at odds with yourself, thinking that this felt slightly inauthentic because you're not using these things that are sitting here on the shelf.
Right.
So how did you work that in your brain where you kind of came to the conclusion that this was still the right thing to do, even though it might not have felt quite authentic?
Yeah, I had heard a quote which kind of started me down this path, and I don't remember who said it, so I'm sorry to whomever you are. But he just said that you just give them what they want. Just fake it till you make it, basically, which it's always kind of been a motto of mine. But
it's parenthood anyway.
It is, seriously. It's just all of life. But anyway, it's just, I don't know. I feel like even though we don't live there, I don't know, it's hard to explain. Everything that I put into those dogs is my heart and soul that I put into all of these buildings and everywhere. And so even though, no, they're not living in my home,
Right.
I put as much into them in their environments as I do into my home. And so you're kind of in some ways creating an illusion for people so that they do feel comfortable about it. But at the same time, I clean those dog houses. I maintain them, so why shouldn't I decorate them? It's just I put as much into each of those facilities as I do my own home. So while the starting into it, maybe that wasn't necessarily the intent.
Sure.
It was more to make people feel comfortable buying from us.
Yeah.
It really has just become like, well,
It's like part of your brand.
it
now.
is.
It really is a part of your
Absolutely.
brand.
It is
And
branding,
I
100%.
I also think too that there's a lot of things that people would not want to know about with breeding. Like,
No,
and I think
they
that's
don't
kind of
need
a
to know.
weird, but yeah, like it would almost ruin their fantasy of their puppy
It
if they
would.
knew all the crap we're doing on the backside.
Right. Well,
know?
people constantly are just, you're the luckiest person
Yeah,
alive
don't
because
just
you
puppies
get to
climb up.
play with puppies all day long. And one of these days, I'm going to do it. One of these days, I'm going to do like a whole Facebook series on what it actually looks like to be a breeder. And I'm going to burst their bubble. I'm sorry, America.
Yeah,
But
it's like sweatpants, muck boots, like hairs in a
Right.
messy bun.
Yeah.
I look disgusting when I'm
well,
working
I
with my
usually
dogs.
do too.
Yeah.
So anyway, it's, and people just they don't need to know. Like you said, it's gonna burst their little bubble.
I think and it almost ruins the hopes and expectations they have for their dog.
Right.
Because part of that is this, when we have kids, we don't think about the poopy diapers we're going to deal with. Like we think about the adventures they're going to have older,
Yep,
and it's
family pictures.
right. And so I don't know that we would have kids if that's all we thought about.
Probably not.
No. So, I mean, it's part of the whole process. And so I don't think necessarily it's inauthentic so much as you are giving them what they want to see. And
Right.
like you said, making them feel comfortable is just, that's
Right.
so important because this is a decision they have to sit well with. And when their friends are like, you didn't rescue a dog, they have to be in alignment with themselves to say, no, and this is why.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I love that.
Yep. We have to give them reasons to want to buy from us.
Yes,
So
exactly.
you gotta do what you gotta do.
It's perfect. It is perfect. And the last question I have for you is you had talked a little bit about how you found this price point and how not necessarily so much what your price point is because it's so breed dependent, but the people inside of it. And you said you found like a sweet spot where you like the people.
Yeah.
Can you talk about a little bit? I mean, I imagine you've walked your price up a little bit before.
I have.
So what was the difference you saw in those people? And then is there anything that prevented you from going higher that you were like, I don't want to deal with that?
Sure. So yes. Basically what I did, I wanted to be middle of the road. Was kind of my goal when I first started into this.
And
so
what was the reason there?
my reason there is, and when I say middle of the road, I don't mean on quality
You
or
meant
any of that. I
pricing.
mean on price.
Got it.
So make sure I distinguish that.
Value based.
Exactly.
Got it.
And I don't like, and I guess probably like, what's the word? Like upper middle is kind of where we sit. And so to come to that price is I just started looking at prices and, then I also know what I paid for my dog.
Right.
And so, that's kind of where I started was just, okay, this is kind of the going price. At the time, it was about 1,400 and that's where I started. And then I started doing the work and putting everything into them. And I'm like, okay, I think I'm doing more than this price range. So I jumped it up. So I would say that, the people at the 14 were fantastic. And now we're up to 2 for our pet dogs. We have a little bit of a price range depending on what you're buying, but our basic price is 2,000. And that is to where you're dealing with really solid folks. They have a career. They
shower daily.
They do.
That's always good.
That's good.
Yeah.
Most of them have kids, but not usually little kids. They're usually a little older kids,
Got it.
but Bassets are definitely family dogs. And
Right.
so
They do better with kids.
they do. They love kids. I mean, they're wonderful with kids.
Mhm.
That's one reason I love them because I've got 4 kids. So anyway,
Cute kids too.
they are. I
Mhm.
like them. They're stinkers. So they're just stable. How about we say that? They're really a stable demographic that I found at this price point.
They
And
really appreciate the dogs.
they appreciate
They
the
take
dogs.
good care of them. I
And
love that.
yes, I would never sell to somebody at a low price point because then you're getting into a whole other group of people. Even at the 14, we were still fine. You get down into like the 800 price range, then you have the people who are going to buy and try and mark up and resell.
Oh.
Or you have the people who just want a cheap dog, even though that's
Yeah.
not cheap. I mean, it's a lot of money,
And
but
I think it's in respect to the breed too. So that $800 might be different in different
right,
breeds, for sure.
absolutely.
But you're right. There are people looking to flip dogs. I'm so
Yes.
blown away by that.
It is. It's nasty, yucky stuff.
Yeah.
But if you get to where, like I said, up into like the upper middle,
Yeah.
then that doesn't give people anywhere to go
Right.
with the flipping. So that kind of eliminates that.
Mhm.
And then, yes, people willing to spend $2,000 on a dog, they're going to take care of that dog. They're not just going to treat them like you don't want them treated, they're going to treat them good. So, they're going to take care of them, and they're going to dote on those dogs, and they're going to treat them the way we want them to be treated. So it's been good. The market is going up a little bit. I think we're probably getting ready to jump up one more time.
Oh, fantastic.
So
And tell me, because you have a wait list.
Yep.
Tell me what your thought is on the wait list. I mean, because we always think, oh gosh, if they have to wait for a dog, is that
Right.
going to be a deterrent?
The wait list has been so good for us. That's been something that we've really built our business on, is the wait list. And because if something is just easy to get, then it's probably not worth as much, right?
Right.
If something is harder to get and you have to wait for it, you're
Mhm.
getting something really special.
Sure.
And so the waiting list has been just everything.
It's so nice.
When I have people who call me, it's nice on the business standpoint
Sure.
because it's like stability for us.
Nice
Okay,
cash
we can
flow.
keep breeding because we still
We
have
a wait
buyers.
list. Yes.
So we can keep doing this. The demand is there.
Yeah.
But when I talk to people, I used to be really worried, like, oh no, this is getting too far out. They're going to have to wait a year for a puppy. They're not going to want to buy. I get all stressed out. But what I have found is that when people call me, I say, okay, well, we're at a year-long wait. And they say, oh, that's wonderful. Because they feel like if they have to wait a year, then I'm producing good dogs that everybody wants. And so therefore they're going to be getting a good dog, and they want it too.
Right. Exactly.
So
it does kind of create that supply demand game.
It does. It does. And so, I find that when I've got a really nice, stable year-long wait, people love it.
And that's great. I
And
love that.
sometimes we'll get extra big litters and they
Yeah.
get a puppy sooner, and then they're really excited. But
Yeah.
yeah, we usually sit right around a year.
That's perfect. And I do think that in the breeds where they are, like my breed being, in that fancy popularity list, I do find that people will get a little bit more impatient. And so I found my sweet spot is about 6 months, but yes, it'll be a little bit breed dependent, but I do find that when they say,
Yeah.
is it like, can I get a dog? Yes. It's just going to be a little bit of a wait.
Right.
And I think that's wonderful.
Yeah. And also I feel like it helps us weed out a lot of people as well, because we don't get impulse buyers.
Correct. But it can't.
You can't.
You just
The demand for Bassets is fairly high. There's less Bassets than there is demand. And so, which is great for me.
It's great.
Good
business place to be in.
it is. It's a happy spot to sit. And so anyway, it just, you can't have somebody like, oh, my kids decided they wanted a Basset Hound. We're going to get them one for a birthday.
Right.
And then nobody's going to want it.
You can get them for the
in
birthday
3
next
months.
year.
Exactly. And that's what I tell people. Absolutely. I want you to get them for the birthday. We'll make up a certificate. Surprise, you're getting a puppy, and it'll be here then. And you can give them that envelope on their birthday or Christmas, you know?
Exactly.
And so it's great. Another thing that we've done that's actually been a game changer. I did it for the first time last year.
Oh,
I completely shut down all communication over the holidays.
wow.
And that was the best thing I ever did, because everybody and their mother wants a puppy at Christmas.
Oh my gosh. Right.
My dogs do not cycle to where that's even.
We try to get them bred in August. Yeah. No.
Yeah, it doesn't happen. I don't have puppies at Christmas. And even if I did, they would all be sold a year ago.
Yeah.
And so I put a nice little note on my website, and I take the contact form down, and
Nice.
I take a break
And you
over
have
the
a
holidays.
nice little break.
November
that's so
and
nice.
December.
Mhm.
It's completely quiet. And that was the best thing ever last year, because I get just inundated over
Oh,
the
I'm sure.
holidays. Like I'm sure everybody
Well, you can just
does,
see a
but
Basset climbing out of a gift box.
Oh,
Like,
right.
It's just the cutest thing.
cutest thing ever,
Mhm.
right? But I can't provide that for
Yeah.
anybody. So there's no reason for me to be spending hours and hours a week telling people that that is not possible.
Absolutely. What
So
a
that
great idea.
was really fantastic. I put an away note on my Facebook page and I keep posting,
Mhm.
but, and then, yep, same thing, took down my contact on my website with a
Nice.
note that says, I will see you next year.
Perfect.
Pop back on
And everybody
second
that
week of January.
they just came back and messaged you if
Yeah,
they were interested. Yeah, no
exactly.
big deal.
They were still there.
Mhm.
So it really, really nice.
And I think that's something that you get to enjoy once you've created the marketing and the kennel. I mean, you have great dogs,
Mhm.
but you also have a great website. I mean, you take care of the whole process. And I
Try
think
to.
that's where people really, I mean, they're sold on your program.
Yeah.
So
Well,
that's great.
that's the goal.
Worth the wait, right?
I think so. They're pretty dang cute.
They really are. Oh my gosh. Well, thank you so much
Yeah.
for taking the time today to show me everything. Oh, I'm in love. And
Thank you.
poor Bill, he's got a whole laundry list of things he doesn't know on his list.
Yep.
Yeah.
All
I
right.
don't think he listens to all my episodes, so we should be okay.
We should be.
But anyway, where can people find you?
Yeah. So we've got a Facebook page. It's Outwest Bassets
Okay.
on Facebook, and then also outwestbassets.com.
Perfect.
And hopefully I'll have a new website rolling out really
Ooh,
soon. So
exciting.
I'm working on it.
It's
but I'm
always
kind
a
of
work in progress, right?
busy with puppies right now.
No,
So
I
I had
get
to
it.
go on the back burner for a minute, but we'll have a new and improved website
Fantastic.
coming out.
Thank you.
So,
I will be putting all of those links in
Thank you.
the podcast show notes.
Appreciate it.
Everybody can check that out. And you guys can find this podcast on my website. The show notes will be honestdogbreeder.com/I4. Thank you so much, Michelle.
Thank you. It's been fun.